Life's twists and turns can leave us feeling lost, broken, and questioning everything. Have you ever found yourself wondering why God allows pain, heartbreak, or confusion? When tragedy strikes, dreams crumble, or suffering lingers longer than we expected, it is easy to ask, where is God in all of this? Welcome to Bible Questions Hub, where we explore the wisdom and wonders and provide answers one question at a time. Job's story. Job's life illustrates that suffering is not always a punishment, but can serve as a test of faith. Despite losing his family, wealth, and health, Job declared, "Though he slay me, yet will I hope in him." Job 13:15. Job's endurance reminds us to trust God, even when we can't see his plan. Job's trials. In one day, Job lost his wealth, servants, and all 10 of his children. Job 1:13-19. Soon after, he was struck with painful boils from head to toe. Job 2:7. His friends wrongly accused him of sin, suggesting that his suffering was a punishment from God. Job 4:7-8. Even his wife urged him to curse God and die. Job 2:9. Despite this overwhelming pain, Job clung to his faith, proclaiming, "Though he slay me, yet will I hope in him." Job 13:15. Lessons from Job's story. 1. Suffering is not always a sign of God's punishment. Job's trials were not a result of sin, but a test allowed by God to prove his faithfulness. This contradicts the false belief that hardship always means divine displeasure. 2. God's ways are higher than ours. Job never received an explanation for his suffering, but by the end of the book, he realized that God's wisdom far exceeds human understanding. Job 38-42. 3. God is present in our suffering. Even when Job could not feel God's presence, God had never abandoned him. In the end, Job was restored and blessed even more than before. Job 42:10-17. Job's story reminds us that when life doesn't make sense, we must trust in God's character, not just in our circumstances. Think about this. What if your current struggle is not the end of your story but the setup for something greater? Stay tuned to Bible Questions Hub for more lessons from the popular Bible characters. Joseph's trials. As a young man, Joseph was favored by his father, Jacob, but envied by his brothers. Genesis 37:3-4. His brothers betrayed him, selling him into slavery in Egypt. Genesis 37:28. As a slave, he found favor in Potiphar's house, only to be falsely accused by Potiphar's wife and thrown into prison. Genesis 39:6-20. Despite interpreting the dreams of Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker, he was forgotten for 2 more years in prison. Genesis 40:14-23. From the outside, Joseph's life seemed to be a series of injustices. Yet, he remained faithful to God, and in time, he was elevated to the highest position in Egypt, second only to Pharaoh. When his brothers later came to Egypt in need of food, Joseph revealed himself and spoke one of the most profound statements on suffering in the Bible. "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Genesis 50:20. Lessons from Joseph's story. 1. God is sovereign, even when we don't see it. Joseph could not have imagined that his suffering was part of God's plan to save an entire nation from famine. 2. Faithfulness in trials leads to promotion. Despite his suffering, Joseph remained faithful in every season, whether as a slave, prisoner, or ruler. His integrity prepared him for his God-ordained destiny. 3. Forgiveness is essential in the process of healing. Instead of holding resentment, Joseph forgave his brothers, recognizing that God had a greater plan all along. Joseph's life reassures us that even when people betray us and circumstances seem unjust, God is still in control, weaving everything together for our good and His glory. Paul's trials. The Apostle Paul endured beatings, imprisonment, and shipwrecks, yet he wrote, "We know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, and hope." Romans 5:3-4. Paul's perspective teaches us that suffering refines our faith and draws us closer to God. The Apostle Paul is one of the greatest examples of enduring suffering for Christ. He was once a persecutor of Christians, but after his dramatic conversion, he became a leading voice in spreading the gospel. His commitment to Christ led him through immense hardship, yet he saw suffering as an opportunity for spiritual growth. Paul suffered repeatedly for the sake of the gospel. He described his experiences in 2 Corinthians 11:23-28. Beaten with rods 3 times, shipwrecked 3 times, imprisoned frequently, stoned and left for dead, constantly in danger from robbers, false believers, and persecution. Often hungry, cold, and without rest. Despite these hardships, Paul declared. Lessons from Paul's story. 1. Suffering produces endurance, character, and hope. Instead of seeing trials as a reason to quit, Paul saw them as part of God's refining process. 2. God's grace is sufficient in weakness. When Paul prayed for God to remove a thorn in his flesh, God replied, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." 2 Corinthians 12:9. This teaches us that sometimes, instead of removing suffering, God gives us the strength to endure it. 3. Suffering for Christ brings eternal reward. Paul encouraged believers to fix their eyes on eternity. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. 2 Corinthians 4:17. Paul's life reminds us that while suffering is painful, it is never meaningless. God uses our trials to shape us into people who are more like Christ, strengthening our faith and preparing us for eternal glory. Practical steps for coping with suffering. When life feels overwhelming, it's essential to have actionable steps to navigate the storm. Here are practical, faith-based approaches to trusting God during difficult seasons. 1. Anchor yourself in prayer. Prayer is our lifeline to God. Philippians 4:6 encourages us, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God." In prayer, we find peace, clarity, and strength to endure. 2. Stay rooted in Scripture. God's Word is a source of comfort and guidance. Passages like Isaiah 41:10 remind us, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." 3. Lean on community. Surround yourself with fellow believers who can provide encouragement and support. Galatians 6:2 reminds us to carry each other's burdens. 4. Keep a gratitude journal. Reflecting on God's blessings, even in the midst of trials, shifts our focus from our pain to His faithfulness. 5. Seek purpose in the pain. Ask God how He might use your suffering to shape you or bless others. Romans 8:28 promises, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Why does God allow suffering? While we may not always understand His reasons, the Bible provides insight into its purpose. 1. Refining our character. Suffering is like a furnace that purifies gold. James 1 verse 2-4 tells us, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Trials mature us spiritually, making us more Christ-like. 2. Drawing us closer to God. C.S. Lewis once said, "Pain insists upon being attended to. God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world." In suffering, we often seek God more earnestly, finding intimacy with him in our brokenness. Charles Spurgeon, "God is too good to be unkind, and he is too wise to be mistaken. And when we cannot trace his hand, we must trust his heart." This quote reminds us to trust in God's character, even when we can't understand his actions. Trusting God when life doesn't make sense is one of the greatest challenges of faith. Yet, it is also one of the most rewarding. The Bible reassures us that our trials are not meaningless. They refine our character, deepen our faith, and prepare us for greater things. As we navigate life's uncertainties, let us hold fast to the truth of Romans 8 verse 18. "I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us." Thank you for watching the Bible Questions Hub. May we, like Job, Joseph, and Paul, find the strength to say, "It is well with my soul," trusting that God's plans are always good, even when life doesn't make sense. Until the next video. God bless.